As we know, South Africa is going through such a massive transitional period with regards to sport, and we find that sporting legends are starting to tell their stories. The likes of Ashwell Prince, Makai and Tini, the list goes on and on and on. And tonight I'm going to be joined by one of our legends who has been playing sport in the apartheid era and hasn't been acknowledged as he should. But with his book that's been released, oops, I spilled the beans. But with his book that's been released, the rest of the world will get to know exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, I'm going to be joined by Awqaf chairperson, Mr. Haroon Kalla, to tell us all about how Awqaf South Africa has joined forces and promoted the book to somewhat. And they are they've been doing a series of books where they've been telling the stories of our legends in this country. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Haroon Kalla. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join me.
Oh, walaikum salam. Let me just say a happy Islamic New Year to all our listeners and to yourself and and of course the team at the studios. May God, may Allah grant you lots of good health and barakah and all the fantastic humanitarian journalism. I love your payoff line. It's absolutely perfect. And it kind of fits into what we are doing as Awqaf South Africa. We, as you know, we've been around for more than 20 years now, and we really do believe in the concept of sustainable development. And as part of that, one key element of that is our Leaders and Legacies project. And our Leaders and Legacies project deals with legends in our community who we need to enshrine. And amongst those, we have a book on Dr. Rashid Saluji. We have a book on Minister Anwar Surti, his life in pursuit of dignity. We also have published a book on the life and times of Tuan Guru. And you know, Tuan Guru was a legend that it's impossible to encapsulate all the work that all these legends have in a book. And similarly, we thought that this book, Crossing Boundries, is very appropriate. You know, it's launched, you know, by Awqaf South Africa in collaboration with Project Justice Trust. And there I must thank Minister Anwar Surti and Dr. Quraish, who worked with Hoosain Ayob to ensure that this book comes out timelessly. So we are absolutely excited about this book, that it brings for once a sporting legend to the schools, to the community, and for us who have grown up under apartheid to understand that these were great legends who would have been international players, household words, household names throughout the world. But unfortunately, they were denied that opportunity. So we wanted to tell the story about these great people who should have been recognized. But alhamdulillah, we have, mashallah, we have, you know, Minister Anwar Surti and Dr. Quraish and Hoosain himself have brought this to life for us. So we're excited about that.
No, definitely. And it's so exciting that the youth like myself get to learn about the legends that we hardly see on our television screens and we hardly told of because they don't make mainstream media. And it's exciting. There's going to be news on the streets, guys that like myself and a lot around South Africa, like-minded people who love dwelling into history and learning about the legends who paved the way for guys like myself to have the freedom that we do in the sporting fraternity today. Talking about the sporting fraternity, Awqaf has been involved in a T20 tournament for the past.
Yes,
so tell me more about that T20 tournament.
Yeah, so you know, our deputy CEO Michael Collier and people like Hasnain who set up this interview, in the background they're quietly working with some young people, maybe 10 or 15 people, enthusiastic amongst the youth who in the more the needy areas of Cape Town, brought them together, started a little cricket tournament. And I attended one of those, I think about 4 years ago. I think it was the first one, maybe 5 years ago now, in fact. And we started very with humble beginnings, maybe 20 or 30, players. And Alhamdulillah, last year we hosted the SA Awqaf T20 SA Youth Tournament on cricket. So exciting. There were almost 650 participants. And the whole cricket fraternity is supporting this beautiful event. So that fits into our youth development, our social cohesion development, where we get youth of different groups and races coming together, playing sport, getting to know each other. And that's what we need for building our rainbow nation. And people like Hoosain Ayob has spent 25 years being a teacher. He spent 10 years going throughout South Africa teaching cricket. He spent 10 years in Africa teaching cricket. So he's kind of himself, he's a walking waqaf, a waqaf of imparting inspiration to young people, bring them to the sport. People like Intini were, his students. You just said earlier on, Intini has written a book, and he has played a role in those young people coming up to be stars. So he's not just a star himself, he's an inspiration to create other stars. And they say great leaders are not the ones who are leaders, but those who actually inspire others to become leaders in their particular areas of expertise. But what is special about Hoosain, and I like the sort of the title Crossing Boundries. It's beautiful because it talks about the ball crossing boundaries, but here to me it has different meanings. He's been a teacher, he's inspired. Minister Anwar Suti was his student. This is who Minister Anwar Suti looks up to. He says, I love that man. He has inspired me and he's had an impact on my life. Our CEO, Zainul Kaji, similarly, says, I love this man, he's inspired me. Then you get young people like Intini and the talent that he's created. They love this man because he's given them a different way of expressing themselves. And that makes a great leader. And that's why we felt that this book is so important. And he's crossed boundaries. He's got people who are in politics, he's got people who are in sport, and he's also crossed boundaries during the apartheid era, gone to all race groups, teaching them cricket, teaching them the skills of of cricket, and imparting that. And they say when if you teach people how to play a sport and you teach them teamwork, I mean their life is a very different life. And I think those are to us the interesting aspects of that title, Crossing Boundaries. Not just a cricket sporting hero, a teacher, a community man, a walking waqaf, And what inspires me most is that even during this time, right at the end, and he's saying to himself, look, I don't really want, I want to set up a waqaf, and this is what he told us. So all the proceeds of the book will go towards a waqaf to inspire young people, to teach them cricket, and so that portion will be given to young people to sort of inspire the sport amongst our youth. And I mean it's fantastic. I'm really truly grateful to Hoosain Ayob for his magnanimity, and not only giving his time, his really all the proceeds should go to him, but he said I want a big portion to go towards this waqaf. So there are very few people like him. That's what inspired us to make him as part of our Leaders and Legacies project.
Mr. Haroon Kalla, thank you so much for that insight. You've certainly made it clear to us, and I'm sure to the viewers and listeners, you've made it clear to them as well who exactly this legend is, Mr. Hoosain Ayob. And thank you so much for giving us insight and background to the book and how Awqaf South Africa is contributing. We really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for getting these stories to the youth and your legacies program. Thank you so much.
Just one point I'd like to make, since you are in Lenasia and our brother Hussein is in Lenasia. Inshallah, please make dua. But I'm happy to announce we just about finished with Dr. Jassad's book, and we're excited that that book will be launched within the next 6 weeks as well. I'm sure you know Dr. Asob Jassad is another political legend. So thank you very much for your time and asking us to be on the program. May Allah bless you and your team for all the fantastic work you do. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all your viewers as well. Salam.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That was Mr. Haroon Kalla, the chairperson of Awqaf South Africa, giving us insight and just sharing the knowledge and the respect that we have for the guy who's going to be currently joining us. He's known to many as a teacher, but for people like myself in the sporting fraternity, and I like to call myself much of an historian. I still have a lot to go and a lot to learn before I can call myself that. But for people that dwell in the past, he has certainly paved the way for many sports personalities, sports people, and everybody as a whole in the sport fraternity. For people of color, he's paved the way for us, and now we can be doing what we're doing because of people like him. We're now going to be joined by Mr. Hoosain Ayob. He's going to tell us all about his book and what we can expect. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Shukran so much for taking time out of your evening for being on the show. It's really an honor. Actually, it doesn't happen often. I don't think it's happened before, but I'm actually dumbstruck.
You know, Thaakir, I've played this game for about 25, 30 years, and I always look forward to it. But this interview, I promise you, it is unbelievable. It is challenging, to prepare this and talk to people and giving me the opportunity. And I must say, I must thank at the beginning, I must thank the Awqaf group, honestly. They went out of their way to support me, as you heard from Haroon. And besides that, there were two other gentlemen, I must mention them. He's Dr. Quresh Patel and Anwar Surti, ex-students of mine who wanted to say thank you to Sir. And this is what it's all about. This brought this thing together. I went to Anwar's launch some time back. It was in Fordsburg. And we met, we talked, and I mentioned it to him. I said, Anwar, I've got this book. 10 years been with it, and help. I needed help, and without doubt, they came on board, and this is where it all started. My book tells a story about Brits, the little town there in the Hartbeespoort with them, where I lost my dad when I was 10 years old. We were 6 sons, and obviously from there, moved over to Mia's farm, spent my time there. This is where the cricket bug really got into us. And from there, becoming a teacher. And, in the apartheid years, you couldn't go do anything else but teaching, and for the women, nursing. And yes, the book is there. And like I said, I would like everybody to go out and read. Mr. Chapgarda, a friend of mine, also a writer, an author, told me you should try and get this book into every school in South Africa, black, white, green, yellow, because it tells a story, and this is what it's all about. Crossing Boundaries, as Haroon mentioned, it is not only crossing the boundary with the ball, it is also crossing from the apartheid system to our new democracy. And it tells you stories about going from South Africa into Africa, various countries, 25 countries I visited. And all I wanted to do was to give children an opportunity to play this game of cricket. That's what, giving up my position as a headmaster of a school in Lenasia, what prompted me was to see kids who were doing well at school, but when it came to sports, you couldn't talk about sports. This is something that hurt me a lot. And I said, look, let me do something. And this is a change. And you look back and we talk about what's happening today. I'll touch on it just now. But you look at the youngsters, especially in Asia where I am, Every youngster wants to play cricket. Everybody wants to be Hashim Amla or Herschel Gibbs or a Mackay Antini. They all want to be cricketers. They wanted. We never had that opportunity. And this is what we have to talk about because we never had it. And if you look at what has happened in the past, I mean, I grew up, like I said, playing cricket in the 1940s, 50s. But up till today, you just feel marginalized. You just feel there's something wrong, something is not correct. And this is what we're going to talk about later. It is about opportunities which is denied to people. My book tells you a story, chapters on Basil de Oliveira, for example. We talk about Basil. There's a chapter on Basil. I played with Basil. And I remember Basil telling me I should go overseas, but unfortunately, there was no funding at that time. And there was a chapter on S.A. Haag. I don't know how many people still remember S.A. Haag, Said Abdul Haag, who grew up in Fitas, who was there for soccer, for cricket, for netball. But he's forgotten. He's also another legend that is forgotten. I got a chapter there on S.A. Haag. And then there talks about the various tournaments we played in. You know, we played in our tournaments, and that was the highest we could go. But we enjoyed our tournaments. I mean, I remember we played in, for example, in East. Our challenges were always Western Province. We played them in a final in Port Elizabeth. They bowled us out for 81, and we bowled them out for 80. I took 5 for 20 on that game. We thought we won the tournament. Our chaps went to go and, party. And the next day, Western Province came back and they destroyed us. Somebody asked me the other day, what do you think about the Western Province setup? I said, the club structures are very good. And that is why they can produce all the top cricketers. I mean, the Majid brothers, Tiki Conrad, Neville Lakay, you name them, the Lobo, the Abeds, and of course, the Basil de Oliveira, as we all know, where to go and leave his country to go overseas to prove to the people that given the opportunities, we can make it. So I've got all that there talking about the development and going into the townships with the late Kaya Majola. We used to go from left to south, north, wherever, just to make sure we give every child, be it white, colored, green, an opportunity to play this beautiful game of cricket. Because cricket is about passion. I talk about cricket all the time, and I always tell youngsters, if you haven't got that passion to play this game, you're not going to make it. And this is so important. And any other questions you want to ask? I know you're listening there tentatively.
We're now so many years after democracy, and you fought for many things. And like you said, crossing boundaries. You've crossed boundaries so that the generation after you doesn't have to experience the same experiences that you went through. And now recently, many stories have surfaced. I mean, the likes of Mackay Antini, Ashwell Prince, Vernon Philander, and even Elvira Peterson, for that matter. These stories have surfaced and they started telling their stories. Do you feel like all your hard work was for nothing, seeing that they're still experiencing the same issues come how many years later?
You feel bitter about it in a sense, because what we were denied, we thought maybe in years to come, giving everybody equal opportunities, things will change. I was managing the Haifa Lions some time back. Alviro, who was there, Garnet Kruger. These boys were there, and we were talking about it. And they told me a story which I'm going to talk about. We were sitting there and discussing the race issue. And they, especially Alviro, told me, boss, you don't know what it is. From outside it looks so beautiful, but you don't know what it is. If you're in that group, then only will you understand how difficult it is. And then I realized there must be problems. And yes, somebody asked me the other day, what do you think about this blacks issue? I said, you know what, all lives to me is important, but if you had known what happened in the past, I mean, growing up 40, 50 years in a country where you saw what was meted out to the black and still happening, then you really feel, I support these guys. I wholeheartedly support Alviro and company. I mean, Mackay Antini phoned me last week. Yeah, And he said, thanks for getting me into your book. I believe I'm in your book. I said, Makaya, how can I forget you? How can I ever forget you? And this is so important. And because of lockdown, we cannot meet. But it was so important for us to meet everybody. It's a pity, like I said, because of a lockdown, we couldn't have a launch. Because Haroon Kalla and company ended up decided to have a few launches around the country. But having said that, I still feel we must not give up. We must not give up because there's talent galore. You can't believe it. I mean, I've been to Africa 10 years. I was supposed to go there for a year, but I spent 10 years there and I said it was not what I wanted. It's what Allah wanted. And this is how I felt. And if you had seen the poverty in countries like Malawi, Senegal, Sierra Leone, then you feel, man, if I can just make a difference in the life of a kid. I mentioned it the other day. You go to a place like Rwanda, they went through genocide. But if you see a youngster hitting that ball or taking a catch, and you see that smile on the face of those kids, it's worth living. And this is what it's all about.
That's certainly what sport is about. Doesn't matter where you come from, your background. I mean, once you step on the cricket field, everybody's equal. All that speaks is your talent. And talking about talent, you've got a history that I don't think any modern day cricketer could match the figures that you have. And I can confidently say that. I know Stuart Broad's recently broken records, but nothing like yours. Run me through a couple of your stats. I'm sure you know them off by heart because you did drop your
stats. Somebody asked me, how can you still remember those? I said, as a youngster, even at school level, every cutting, every newspaper, there wasn't much, but I used to cut out and I used to paste that and I kept that in the file. This is how I remember it. I've taken over 100 wickets. I mean, it doesn't mean a lot to people in our Adarabai tournaments. And that was something to behold. And obviously, we played in the national championships. That's the non-white group. And Crescents from Natal. They had the likes of the late Babu Ibrahim, Yaqub Umar, you name them. They had 8 Natal players in the team. And they played college in Fitas. We played them in the final. And I tell you, we beat them hands down. And my figures there was 5-20. So somewhere along the line, I felt, you felt great, but also felt let down because, there's so much of talent going around, but not given the opportunities. Then they had a fast bowling competition. You had to choose your fast bowlers, Mnet had it, where you had to choose. They gave about 10, 12, 15 names, and you had to choose the top 6. And I was fortunate that I made the top 6 with the likes of Alan Donald, Mike Proctor, Gart LaRue, Peter Pollock, and of course there was another bowler. He's late now. One of the bowlers. So that was the group I was in there, and I felt happy. But I'm sure if you look around South Africa, there were many others. I mean, if you look at Rushdie Majid, Yaqub Umar, and so many others, Solly Chotia, the late Solly Chotia. We had enough talent. We had enough talent to compete against anybody. Somebody asked me, how would you have done against the Clive Rices and all that? I said, we beat them. There was a day where we played Pirates. Jimmy Cook was the opening bat, and they had a good side, and we beat them. Then that time I played for Kohinoor. But college itself, college old boys, Abdul Bamji, Usman Lata, we had a talented team. But that's it. That is why I feel we should not give up. We should carry on, work harder. And I always say it, and I said it the other night, that if we don't work with the mental aspect of the game, we're going to lose out. That is so important. We play. Youngsters will spend 3 hours in the nets. But however, they spend 5 minutes talking about the game, talking about attitude, talking about belief, visualization. We lose out there. This is where the Australians will always have an edge over South Africa. I've been there with the late Kaya Majola, Anton, and Duncan Fletcher. With every team they have a psychologist who spend time, even at a young under 13, you spend time with those youngsters. And that is where they start learning to play the game and play it hard. These are the type of things we got to bring in. It scares me when you look at what is happening these days. You ask somebody, do you have a coach? They said, no, we don't have a coach. Or we have got a coach, but he has got no, credentials. It's worrying factor because every school should have a top coach. I always believe the youngsters that are under 9, 10, 11, 12, they should have the best coaches, not wait till they're 16 and 17 or 18, then you want to change them. I believe the talented coaches should be working with the talented kids at a young age. Very true.
Definitely. And I always tell many people it's easy to choose a developed player once they start playing first team, senior level. But to develop the skills that that player has, all the credit needs to go to those coaches. Mr. Hoosain Ayob, you've told your story, you've inspired many, and you've given it to us from the start to the end. You've told us your teaching days. Now, for us to go further in depth and actually read your book, where can we get hold of your book?
Right. As I said, you could phone me. I just dropped 15 books today. I had to go and drop it because people are demanding now because when the lockdown is difficult, I promise you, you don't want to take a chance. But the demand is there at the moment. People will read, a few people will read and they'll talk to the others, they'll phone each other. And yes, you could phone me, WhatsApp me or whatever, and then we could make arrangements. We could either post it to you or somehow get it to you. You could call me on 083 4786 719. Or you could even speak to Haroon and them, the Kalla, Awqaf. I'm sure we work together. So I know there are a lot of people that have been requesting, how do we get your book? What do we do? And this is how it is. You can phone me and we can make arrangements. But again, I would end off, if it's almost time, to really thank Awqaf. Honestly, they went out of their way to make it for me. It's unbelievable. And my two students, my ex-students, who I love a lot, Quraish and Enver. I become emotional when I think about them.
Shukran so much to you for sharing your story, and definitely, it's going to be a good read for me, I know, and for the rest of South Africa out there. Um, Share your stories. Tell us once you've read the book. Drop us a message on social media. You can also drop Awqaf a message, just telling them what you thought about the book. You can email them as well, or you can phone them with regards to getting your copy of the book. The details will be on our social media platforms, on Salam Media's websites as well, for everybody that wants to get in contact with Awqaf and Mr. Hoosain Ayob with regards to the book. Shukran so much for your time once again. I wish you all the best. And shukran from myself, from the youth of South Africa, from Salam Media, for sharing your story so that we can have insight into what life was like back in the day, like they say.
Thaakir, thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity. You know what? You don't just get these opportunities, but thank you. Appreciate it. And to all those people celebrating New Year, the Islamic New Year, don't go out there. It's dangerous, but enjoy the book.
Shukran so much once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Wa alaikum
barakatuh.
salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the legendary Mr. Hoosain Ayob sharing his insights in cricket, the knowledge that this guy has. Guys, it's unbelievable. It really inspired me. And I was, like I said, I was shocked before this because I didn't know that I'm going to be having such a legend on the show. And speaking to him, I just sat in awe there because it's almost like speaking to one of the people you idolized all your life, and now you have them right in front of you. If I didn't put as much preparation into the interview, I probably would have sat here with a mouthful of teeth. But yeah, thank you once again for sharing your giving us a preview on your book. And now we're gonna be going to the news section. We're gonna be chatting to Palesa real soon. She's gonna be giving us an update on what's happening in the world of football. As you know, it is Women's Month, and we would love to keep women on our show every week. Unfortunately, this week we couldn't get a female to profile. However, we will be having a female analyst right after this break.